never feel the way I feel. You don't know if my love is real. Baby, listen to me, here's the deal. When you're not here, I'm not the same.
Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Ashley. Welcome to my channel, and for my returning subscribers, thank you so much for being patient with me. I've been away for a while, but like I said in my last video, I'm back
2,000 years later,
and I'm going to be uploading more content. Today's video is going to be my ASYE journey in social work. I've got my notebook here just to remind me of a few things, because at the moment my brain is like a sieve. I can't keep things in there. It's just I'm just so forgetful at the moment. So I've got this notebook just to aid me through the whole video. So if I'm looking down, I do apologize in advance for that, but just sort of trying to make sure I'm giving you accurate information. So ASYE stands for Assessed Year in Employment. This is a year that you take out to consolidate your studies and everything that you've done with your degree. You're consolidating it whilst you're in employment. This is something that Social Work England have asked all new qualified social workers to sort of do, to consolidate their confidence in the professional practice, make sure that they're gaining experience and knowledge in a more protected way compared to if you were just sort of going into a job without the protection of having this assessed year in place. In this year, you're also assessed against the professional standards, which is the PCFs and the KSSs. I think I've discussed this previously. If you haven't seen that, just go back to my video when I talk about social work experience and I discuss what PCFs are and what KSSs is. The people who are eligible to take part in ASYE are social workers who've been registered with Social Work England within the last 2 years of completing their degree. So one of the things is that with this ASYE program, because it's something that Social Work England want most employers to do, they fund this program, so employers get money towards your program, and this money can be used to buy resources like books and anything that will help you during the whole process of the ASYE program. The ASYE framework can be divided into 3 subsections. I'm going to go through all the subsections. The subsections are professional development and support, evidence requirements and assessments, and the last one is quality assurance, to make sure that the way an employer is going through the ASYE program with you is national standard. For professional development and support, you receive regular supervision, and sometimes it also includes critical reflection within that supervision or on your own individual time. For the first 1 to 6 weeks, you get weekly supervision, and then for about 6 weeks to 6 months, you get fortnightly. For 7 to 12 months, you get monthly supervision, and then you get protected development time, which could be half a day each week to spend time critically reflecting on your practice and writing reflective pieces. You get a reduced workload allocation, which is equivalent to 90% of an experienced social worker. When I started, I used to get weekly supervisions for about 3 months, just getting into the role. I would say about 4 months to about 6 months, I would get every 2 weeks, I would get supervision. And then from about 7 months to 12 months, I was getting monthly supervision. That's how it's supposed to work. I started getting monthly supervision around the 8th mark or 9th month. This is because my supervisor was really good. He was a very caring person, and he really wanted to provide all the support that he could to make sure that I'm developing professionally and I'm becoming more confident in my role as a social worker. With regards to evidence requirements and the assessments that you have to do, the first thing, you have to have a holistic based assessment on the PCFs and KSSs. So the PCFs don't stop just because you finish uni. You continue with them in employment as well. So when you're going through this assessed year, you still need to develop all those KSSs and the PCFs. The KSSs depend whether you're doing children's or you're doing adults, because they're a bit different when you're doing children's and when you're doing adults. Another requirement is that the assessor has to be a registered social worker. The reason for this is because obviously they are training you in this role and profession, so it wouldn't make sense if the person who was assessing you or training you was not a social worker. So that's why they have to be a registered social worker, and this is a requirement. So to evidence the professional development of professional capability, you have to do some pieces of work, and some of these pieces of work include 3 direct observations, 3 pieces of feedback from children and young people or adults who are in need of care and support, and 3 pieces of feedback from your colleagues or other professionals, assessments of 3 examples of written work. For one of my 3 observations, I had a character assessment where my assessor came with me and assessed me as I completed an assessment on a young individual who had care and support needs, and then they do a holistic approach to assessing me with regards to PCFs and KSSs, and they also give me feedback with regards to how I've completed the observation and the things that I can improve on. I'm in the adult services, so I had to get feedback from one of the service users. The first feedback that I got that I can remember, that's easier to remember, is the feedback after I had finished the Care Act assessment. So my assessor actually went and spoke to the service user's mum and asked for feedback with regards to how they felt about the Care Act assessment, if they thought I was helpful and understanding and listening to what they were saying, understanding the concerns that they raised, and my approach and professionalism towards the whole assessment. It helps you understand where you are as a professional, and of course the first feedback sometimes is not always what you want when your assessor is giving you a feedback, because you might not be as confident as you think you are. So I really struggled with the first feedback that I received. My assessor said that I was too sort of robotic with the way I was doing my assessment. I did it in a structural format where I'm asking all the questions one at a time, and I'm not sort of relaxed about the way I was asking the questions. So that was very informative feedback, and it helped me develop the way I would do or complete my assessments. And by the end of my ASYE, I think I had become more confident where I can actually ask questions without having to look at the structure of the assessment form to see what the questions are. With regards to professional feedback from other professionals or other colleagues, it can be difficult to find this piece of feedback because it depends what type of team that you work in. I was lucky enough that I worked in a multidisciplinary team. I work in learning disabilities and autism team, so it's very multidisciplinary in terms of some of the support that we provide for service users. The feedback that I got from another professional was from someone who was working with the PBS team. PBS stands for Positive Behavior Support. So this is when you make a referral to this team if you feel like maybe some of the behaviors that the service users, they are sort of challenging and they need that support to be able to understand. With regards to assessment of the written reports, you can use anything. One of my written report was a Care Act assessment as well. I always come back to the Care Act assessment because I feel like it's one of the easiest things to sort of use as evidence. I also used a mental capacity assessment that I had completed on an individual. So you can use different documents to provide evidence of the professional practice that you've done. You also have to complete critical reflections at stage 3 months, 6 months and 12 months, and these have to be recorded in your RASPA or in your CRL, and they have to reflect on a piece of work that you've completed, and they have to show your progression as you reflect each time. This I found very difficult. I think for most social work students and social work professionals, it's something that you have to keep developing as you continue in the profession. It's not something you wake up overnight and you've got it. I think this was one of the hardest things that I had to do with regards to my portfolio work. And though I had done it so many times in uni, it's just difficult to reflect. Sometimes you can border into being very descriptive rather than reflecting on actually what you've done. It's always a good idea to use theory when you're reflecting. They're quite helpful for you to break down what you want to say and how you feel, what you think about, and what you could improve on. The last part of the ASYE framework is the quality assurance. So this is where the internal and external moderation of your portfolio is done. So it has to meet the national standard. So they look at your portfolio at 3 months, 6 months, and 12 months. And if they look at your portfolio at 6 months, you might be asked to do additional work. I've just actually remembered when I had my 6-month review, I had to complete another critical reflective log, and I found it very, very difficult because I felt like I was expressing and reflecting, but my assessor as well as my ASYE coordinator thought that I was being too descriptive and I was not really reflecting as much. When it went to the external moderation, because 6 months is when it goes to the panel, they asked me to do an extra piece of work which is noted as optional in the whole portfolio process, and I had to do another critical reflective log. So it doesn't mean that you're failing, but it's just a development thing that they have seen within the process to say you need to improve on this because this is something that we feel like you need to work on. I had to complete another extra critical reflective log and then send it to them by a certain deadline, and then I could complete the other section, which is 9 to 12 months of my portfolio. And then at 12 months, after you've collated all these documents and all this evidence providing support of how you've professionally developed over the year, you have to send off your portfolio to a panel. And normally on that panel there's principal social worker for children and a principal social worker for adults. There's the social work coordinator who coordinates all the social workers within the borough, because I was working in a borough. So there's also the external moderator who might be someone from like a university lecturer who will come and look at all the portfolios that have been presented by this employer, and then they see if they meet the national standard. I was also requested to come for a panel interview sort of meeting where I would say maybe a panel review where they look at your whole portfolio and they ask you to sort of discuss in depth the critical reflections that you've done. So when you complete critical reflections, you're looking at a specific case and you're detailing all the work that you've done and you're reflecting upon this work, talking about the interventions that you've used to work with these individuals. This helps you explain it better rather than them just reading, so you can kind of explain further what you meant when you were writing certain things and the theories and interventions that you use. They also ask you questions with regards to your whole overall ASYE, and they'll provide you feedback on development areas. They tell you later on when you've passed ASYE or you failed or they feel like it's not working, but I think normally they would tell you before you get to 12 months if they feel like you're on the track to fail, because the whole point of the Assess J in Employment is to make sure that you're on a track to pass and there's no issues. If there's any issues, they try and mitigate against these and provide support. And the other good thing about ASYE is that once you start it as well, you don't have to complete it in the 12 months that you've started. You can pause it if you've got external things happening in your life and you just need some time out, and then you can restart it again. So for example, when I started my ASYE, I had a bereavement in my family, and this was during the pandemic. And obviously dealing with that grief and loss and having to travel was very challenging and difficult. So I paused my ASYE. Obviously negative about it is that it prolongs the time that you have to spend completing this, but it's very helpful in the sense where if something is really not working in your life and you just need a break, just to reassess and deal with different situations outside of the ASYE and the employment, then you can pause that. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, what are you waiting for? This is your moment. Subscribe to my channel. I've got more content coming, and I hope you stay tuned. Click the like button if you enjoyed the video. Write your comments down in the comment section. Let me know what you think or any questions that you have or suggestions. Until next time guys, have a good one.